It's so nice to talk to both of you today.
Thank you.
Welcome to Stranger Things 3, Cary.
Yeah, thank you.
Had you been a fan of the show before you were cast?
Oh, absolutely. My wife and I had binge watched the first 2 seasons, and we canceled every appointment we had. We just couldn't stop. And so when I got the call, obviously it was a delightful call to get. Yeah.
And what can you tell us about your character, because we haven't seen
Sure.
Stranger Things 3 yet?
Sure. So this is the first time we meet the Mayor of Hawkins, and he's kind of a sleazy politician. He's very self-centered, very egotistical, not based on anyone you may know, just a bunch of folks that I made up in my head. And he's far more interested in getting the popularity vote than really caring about the community. So he's a great foil for Harper, and fun to play.
Dacre, your character is so fascinating. He's kind of a bad guy, but he can turn on the charm in the blink of an eye. How would you describe him to somebody who has maybe never seen the show?
I'd just say that no villain is truly a villain. You can't just be good or bad. So my endeavor was just to constantly humanize that character. And I think all you're seeing is an insecure teenager, experiencing that tail end of adolescence when, well, I don't think insecurity ever leaves you, but... So I think you see someone who's deeply troubled, I think, in a lot of ways, but also just completely normal.
Will there be any changes for Billy in season 3? Are we going to see maybe a different side to him?
Big changes. I think it was good that he was humanized, in particular in season 2, because this season is so terrifying in some ways. And I tried to embody that terrifying quality a little bit more by trying to make my choices with this character this season really unusual and really unpredictable. And I feel like actors like Jack Nicholson, for example, not just in his antagonistic roles, but in all of his roles, embodies this quality of unpredictability. And I think that, as an audience member, keeps you on your toes. Because you never know what's around the corner. Do you know what I mean? And the Duffers wrote me that role this season, so hopefully I've done it justice.
Yeah.
Most actors say it's more fun to play a bad guy. But Dacre, you've played a few now in the past. Are you champing at the bit to play a good guy, maybe?
Definitely. I'm shooting a romantic comedy here in Canada in a couple of weeks' time, and I think I'm excited to be challenged by that. But I think what most people are talking about, just to circle back, about playing a bad guy is that unpredictable nature. That I think we're like, well, the good guy, I don't know, he's pretty, single-sided, one-dimensional rather, right?
It's the gray area that's interesting.
It's the gray area,
It's never really good or bad. It's, audiences like to be able to point and say, that's the bad guy, that's the good guy.
Exactly.
But it's always the gray area, and that's what this show really focuses on, is what's interesting.
Yeah. I think it's the same for your role in this season as well.
Absolutely.
Similarly, perceived to be antagonistic, but there's so much more depth and layer to that, because you can't just be bad. It doesn't exist. Nobody just wakes up and is bad.
No.
And how do you even play that?
No,
do you know
there's
what I
no
mean?
way to know.
It's just he's a human being. Sorry, we'll actually go out back and just have our own chat. We want to get a serious debate about this. Have lunch. Save it, mate.
I actually read recently that Brits and Australians play Americans better than Americans.
Wow, I wouldn't say that. We're getting in trouble for that. No, I think that we're grateful. I can speak for myself, but maybe Dacre can comment on this. But I'm grateful that I've been given the opportunity to play Americans, to have a career in this country.
I think that the reason that is the perception is because the accent, the natural accent, has a deeper kind of timbre to it, right?
Yeah.
So I think that it sounds more masculine, putting on an American accent, I think, in some ways. And that has a lot more depth in it, rather than the nasal quality. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
I think in some ways, for me, it's like more interesting to see a leading man like Tom Hardy or someone like that play a role that has a sort of depth that I feel like, is not exclusive to Australians and Brits by any means. But I think that is something that I've spoken about before, which is interesting to hear an Australian or a Brit put on.
It's a great time for Brits and Australians in the industry. Definitely. We're very fortunate to be...
All the frequent flyer points on Qantas, mate. It's a very lucrative time for me. I can all the frequent flyer points.
That's hilarious.
Is there any one thing that you have to keep in mind when you're playing an American?
It's a good question.
I obviously the accent's important, but I think for me it's not it's just about the character. It doesn't matter whether you're playing a Lithuanian or Norwegian. It's just, is the character
I'd agree.
nuanced, interesting,
Yeah.
and yeah.
Now, since we haven't been able to see Stranger Things 3 yet, is there anything at all that you can tell fans about what's coming up for us?
Higher stakes.
Yeah.
Definitely higher stakes. One of the biggest things I've noticed in watching it is the budget is so huge, but I would encourage the fans to understand that it does not take away from the depth of the story is really important. So it's
Yeah.
good working in tandem like that. I
Absolutely.
think. The stakes in the budget,
Yeah.
but the story is still there.
Yeah,
Still
no.
the same crew.
Yeah.
It's the respect to
Yeah.
the first and second season, but
Yeah.
in enhancing it and hopefully enticing an even broader audience.
Yeah.
And finally, what's the last thing that you binge watched on Netflix?
The Court, do you mind reminding me the name of the Now They See Us? When They See
Oh,
Us.
yes.
I thought that was breathtaking, and those actors, the younger and older versions, just played it so well.
Oh, I can't wait to watch that. Yeah, I haven't. Other than
Naked and Afraid, right?
my wife loves watching that show.
You say your wife, but come on, mate.
come on,
Like, we
no,
better, let's
dude,
be real here.
dude. It's an issue at home because she's so interested in that show, and I say to her, "Look, I can only watch naked people for so long. I don't care how much you pixelate it. It's tough before you're going to sleep to have those images in your head." But she's just a diehard fan. So yes, she binges that show.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for talking to me, and can't wait to see Stranger
Lovely to
Things.
speak
Thank
to you.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lovely to meet you as well,
You
yeah?
too.